What's up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to NBA Crunch Time. I am your host, TJ Zwarich, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, Tasteful Tides. Tim, how you doing?
What's going on, TJ? How you doing tonight? We only got this small little 3-game Fanduel slate, but there's actually a lot of different ways that you can build tonight, so it's not the worst 3-game slate. And and I'm also doing football research for tomorrow.
Yeah, as long as if Jamar Chase is in, I have my lineup set. If Jamar Chase is out, which is actually what I'm hoping for, I'm gonna have to redo everything. But fun little bit of news that we're waiting on, and I'm doing well, but I gotta tell you, I'm doing a lot better than those who are playing on DraftKings tonight and who rostered Markelle Fultz, because I played 20 lineups and I had no Markelle Fultz. And so for those who were wondering why we're on so late, of course, our wonderful sponsor FanDuel is the sponsor of the show, and so we are coordinating the show with their lock. But joined as well by Taylor, doing the core plays today up for RotoGrinders.com. How you doing, Taylor?
Doing well. Ready to talk about an awesome 3-game slate and hopefully win some money tonight.
We got lots and lots of time, so if you got questions, let us know in the YouTube chat. Make sure you're hitting that like button, and we'll be going to you second, because first we'll be going to the live stream chat in the RotoGrinders Discord. And Crunch Time is sponsored by FanDuel. Bet $5 on any money line, get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins, and all customers get a profit boost every day. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And here's what I think. It doesn't matter to me if you guys have not prepared this in your brains, because we have so much time. You're just going to have to deal with it anyways. I want both of your thoughts for cash, and I want both of your thoughts for GPPs. And hopefully that doesn't, because it's a 3-game slate, that won't cloud people too often. Hopefully it'll actually help get us set on like one specific style build. Because Taylor, you already got your cash thoughts basically up on paper anyways, and we'll plug your core plays in here. And then, hey, maybe we even get something more fun and we get you guys having a little argument about what the right set of plays is. So we'll start over on cash, and of course we will only be covering FanDuel because DraftKings has already locked, but there will be a lot of stuff that's going to be relevant to DraftKings as well. Like, we are still waiting for the Miami Heat starting lineup, unless that just came in. No, Jalen Duren news. We don't care about Jalen Duren news right now. And so we're still waiting on the Miami Heat starting lineup. But as it stands right now, we got 3 core plays, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, and Bam Adebayo. Starting at point guard today, Tim, I'm going to throw it to you. Who do you think are the cash plays at point guard, and do you agree that Kyle Lowry is one of them?
Yeah, Kyle Lowry is definitely one of them. $5,400, way too cheap. And for tournaments, he's showing up in the Opto 56% of the time. So, like, that's pretty solid for, a low usage guy like Lowry. So Lowry's a really strong play in cash and tournaments. Second point guard spot, I think, is where you could get, it's not as clear cut. I probably lean, I don't know. It's either Drew Holiday or Dennis Schroeder. I kind of wanted to play Trae Young, but probably not for cash. I'll probably just keep him for GPPs. But I think it's Lowry and then Holiday.
Taylor, what about you? Who are your preferences for pairing with Drew Holiday? With Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, Holiday is probably the one that stands out the most. Decent salary, a little cheaper than Garland, although I do like Garland a lot, especially in tournaments. Good pace-up spot for Cleveland there at Golden State. Schroeder, they're basically the same play, Holiday and Schroeder. I don't really have a strong lean either way. Trent missing this game does help Schroeder a little bit minutes wise, I think. So I think those are the 2 guys you're looking at in cash. Other than that, I don't really see anyone that I would go to outside of GPPs.
Yeah, I love Darius Garland in like even as like a single entry or close to an optimal style today, if I have like $7,400 remaining for that position, I probably do go to Darius Garland over Schroeder and Drew Holiday in that spot if you have the salary. But if there's something else better you can do with it, then absolutely, I would agree with Holiday there. Shooting guard position, Tim, what do you think about Duncan Robinson in this spot? Would you use him at shooting guard or small forward? And who else are you thinking here? We got Jaylen Brown, who is just way too cheap on Fanduel.
Yeah, you're definitely playing Duncan Robinson in cash games. That's like 100%, just like Lowry. I mean, you're going to be playing for Heat in cash. Like, there's just no question about it. I'd much rather play Robinson at shooting guard. I'm pretty sure. I'd rather be at shooting guard, and then, like you said, Jaylen Brown, you can play at shooting guard. Klay Thompson, like, not the best spot, but I still think he's way too cheap at 5,400. That would basically be my cash game pool at shooting guard.
Yeah, I think I want to play personally all three of Duncan Robinson, Jaylen Brown, and Klay Thompson. What do you think about that strategy, Taylor? And are there anybody else you'd be looking at for cash?
Yeah, Klay's too cheap on FanDuel. He hasn't been that good, but I think you just do it at 5,400. I think you can play Drew Smith for 3,800 in cash. Like, it kind of opens things up, and on FanDuel especially, there's really like no one under 4K ever. So should see some minutes with two starters missing for the Heat. I don't hate that, but obviously it's not the most appealing path. I think Thompson, Robinson, and Brown is easily the core.
I like that. Just to help people out a little bit, we'll plug him in since we almost got a consensus there, but I agree. I think you could do Drew there, and maybe that's something that, like, if you really wanted to get after Trae Young, you could do Drew and Trae Young so that you could afford it. But again, maybe that's more of a tournament thing. Josh Richardson got downgraded to probable throughout the day. He's somebody that I've loved as a salary saver and considered here at small forward. But honestly, with the Heat, even though it's probable, that freaks me out a little bit that they just might be like, oh yeah, today's a day we're just gonna phone in, and then they end up not even using him at all because he's just got the minorest of things. But we already got either Robinson or Brown locked into one of these spots. Tim, who are you looking to with the other one? Is it one of these Heat guys, Richardson or Jaime Hawk, or are you looking at somebody like Jalen Johnson, who's now been priced up?
Yeah, it's probably Jaime Hawk, actually, for me. Well, I mean, it depends. If he starts, it'd probably be Jaime Hawk. If he doesn't start, then we have a different conversation. But I think Jalen Johnson, he's a great play, I think, for tournaments. I currently have him in my single entry tournament build. But I think he might be a little too expensive for cash games. Definitely you want to be playing Duncan, Brown, and then I think Jaime if he starts. I also want to hear your guys' take on Jason Tatum. Not really, like, he didn't, like, the Celtics didn't play their full complement of minutes last night, and I really like Jason Tatum today. And I think he might be, like, if we can squeeze him in, like, I was thinking about playing him over Brown as a pivot in tournaments, not in cash games, but for tournaments. I was thinking about playing Tatum instead of Brown.
I don't hate it personally. I like Tatum for tournaments today. I will say that there's somebody $900 cheaper that I like a little bit better, Scotty Barnes. He's just been, and like what I like about that is then you can pair him with Jaylen Brown too, who's a little bit cheaper, or you could pair him with Tatum if you can afford it. But like, look at this game log for Scotty Barnes this year. His worst fantasy game, and this is getting to be a pretty decent sample size. His worst game is 42.4. That's been the floor so far, showing ceilings over 60. He's the guy. He's just taking such a wildly big leap this season. And so I do really love Scotty for tournaments, but I don't mind Tatum either. What about, if I was choosing one for cash, I guess because of that floor, no, I still think I might like Scotty a little bit better. But Taylor, what about you? Who would you give the edge to, Scotty Barnes, Jason Tatum? And then who are you liking for your second spot here at the small forward position?
I'd probably say Tatum, just because I think he has the higher ceiling of the two, although Barnes suddenly seems to be kind of morphing into a star, so that could be an awful take. But Tatum, I think, might also be a little bit lower owned. I'm not sure how it'll shake out. They might be pretty similar, but Tatum, if you have the money, I think is where you should go with that. In cash, I think Richardson's still playable. Even if he doesn't start, Hawkes is fine if he does. I think you can also consider Bogdanovic. Gets pretty good usage off the bench for Atlanta. And Miami shouldn't be that good defensively with Jimmy Butler out. So I think Bogdanovic is fine if you want to go a little cheaper, but you're not sold on the Miami backups, essentially.
I was wondering about that. Is that a net positive or negative for the Miami defense? That one, you lose Jimmy Butler, which is obviously a negative, but you also lose Tyler Hero, which is a pretty big positive for the defense. It's going to be interesting to see how they are compared to normal. I guess that you're subbing in Duncan Robinson for big minutes, and it's not like he's exactly an elite defender by any means, so it's probably a net negative. Pivoting to power forward position, I think this is where guys like Tatum and Barnes potentially even become more viable, but you also have Pascal Siakam, whose price has finally started coming down here, 7.9K. I think he is in a great spot. Mobley is viable as well. Tim, who are you looking to play at cash at the power forward position? You also have Andrew Wiggins, who, speaking of Warriors who haven't been great but are underpriced, he's, I guess, if as a last piece viable, but he hasn't looked good.
Yeah, I can't play Andrew Wiggins in cash. Like, I know that he projects well, and like, I guess if you really just land there and that's your last spot, I guess you could do it. But I'm certainly not going to be seeking out Andrew Wiggins in cash, even though his price just keeps falling and falling. Yeah, you're right. Siakam's price is really, really falling. $7,900. I never thought I'd see him this low, but it's kind of justified. He has an absolute really, really strong ceiling and floor. He would definitely be my favorite power forward for cash. I think I like Evan Mobley quite a bit also. So I think it kind of in that mid-range, it would be where I'd spend for power forward.
There's just something about this build that I love so much. You get a little bit of late night hammer with Clay. You get a lot of exposure. We're going to have probably a fourth Miami player here somewhere after we get their three guys who we're most confident about for minutes, Lowry, Robinson, and Adebayo. And then you just get a little skinny stack of 200 price guys of Siakam and Brown. Obviously, it doesn't really matter for cash, but if you're putting the lineup in a tournament, like a single entry tournament as well, I do kind of like the correlation this has. Taylor, who do you like at power forward?
Yeah, it seems like a position where you kind of have to pay up. There's really not anyone super cheap aside from Wiggins and maybe DeAndre Hunter, but I don't love that. Draymond Green is a guy that kind of seems a little more cashy these days. He's kind of capped around 30 minutes, but decently priced. Discount from the Mobley Siakam tier. I don't hate that. Jalen Johnson, we talked about at small forward. I think he's also fine at power forward. Jared Allen, you can play at power forward on FanDuel. He's cheaper on DK, so I like him more over there, but he's a center that shouldn't be a power forward, but you can play him there if you want, and I think he's a decent option. He's kind of more GPP, though, I think, but if you land there, I think it's fine.
So I had a question for you guys because I had him tagged earlier and I was pretty embarrassed. I had to untag him. But are they just done with Kevin Love? Is it just is he just out?
It seems kind of like it. We have him at last I saw.
We have him for 12 minutes because when I was doing tags earlier, we had him for like 20 or 22 minutes, and then I just rechecked and we have him for 12. I didn't know if there was something like concrete that we knew, or just doing our best guess. I guess he's really just out of the rotation, pretty much.
He hasn't played in November
12
yet.
feels like almost like a hedge projection. I can't speak for the projection team. I didn't see the plan, but I feel like he's either going to play 20 or 0.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. I was kind of thinking he would play like 20, or they're just done with him for good. but I don't know. So yeah, you're probably right. 12 is probably a hedge projection. But yeah, I really did like Kevin Love today. And I think if I was making like 10, 20 teams today on FanDuel for tournaments, I'd have one Kevin Love just in case. That's just my opinion. I would risk maybe one.
If he starts, for sure, like jam him in.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Starts.
If he starts, like you try, yeah,
I'd have more than one. I'd have more than one started.
It's possible. He hasn't played all month, but they're down 2 dudes, and I don't know how much they trust the others. But yeah, if he doesn't start, he could obviously get you a 0. So that would be a little damaging.
I think I have him in like 2 or 3 lineups of my 20. So just like a piece for just in case. But then again, if he started, I would definitely try and get him in more. Center for cash game, it's Bam Adebayo. We don't really have to have that conversation. So let's pivot to tournaments and kind of go snake order here, go from center all the way back to point guard. And Taylor, I want to ask you this first. How many lineups would you have to be playing to not play Bam Adebayo at the center position?
Probably a lot. In the build I ran, he popped up in 50% of them, but it was like, 150. So I think you can get different. Maybe like you think Miami gets blown out, or, for whatever reason, you just don't want to eat that ownership. The problem is there aren't really that many great alternatives. If I don't play him, I'm most likely to play Clint Capella just because he's 63. Minutes are kind of wonky, but FanDuel scoring kind of helps them with the 3 points for stocks and stuff like that. Nice discount there. There's really no one in Adebayo's range. I guess you could say Porzingis is an option. Decent ceiling there. Projects for 11 points less than Bam. Pretty much everyone that's strictly center is going to be completely contrarian. So you're going to flip your build essentially because you're going to be paying down at center and up somewhere else. So I don't mind it in tournaments, but I'm still more likely than not just to jam him in.
Yeah, it's same with me. I think I have him in 85% of my 20 lineups. And then the only way I'm not getting to him is if I'm playing a game stack. And so I want to play Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, as well as 3 different Golden State Warriors. And I want to play Porzingis and Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam. I think that's and Jason Tatum. Like, I think that's the only way that I wouldn't get to Adebayo. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, I think the only other center that I would mention would be Jakob Poeltl, 6,100. I think it's pretty, it's an okay matchup for him, and we've seen him flash a pretty high ceiling. So I think he would be viable in GPPs. I like Taylor's Capella call. That would be my next guy in if I wasn't going to play Bam. And then I also like the price point pivot that Taylor mentioned, Porzingis, because we know that Porzingis definitely has a ceiling. So, and he's showing up in optimals 19% of the time, and he's going to be 19% owned. So he's not going to be like over owned or anything like that. So I really like Porzingis as a pivot from Bam.
I think Porzingis has a great potential to just have a really big day today, because he starts at the 5, and like Jakob Poeltl is not going to want to guard him at the 3-point line. So for whenever their minutes line up, like Porzingis is probably just going to be feasting from the 3-point line. I almost wish I would have put in like a little bet on his 3-point prop today.
That makes a lot of sense. Oh. Yeah, I wonder what it was.
Pivoting back to our power forwards here, I kind of want to we did touch a little bit on tournaments, but I really want to stress how great of a play I think Scotty Barnes is for tournaments. I actually think he's going to go lower owned than the 22% projection we have him for, because I just think like 9,700 is the most expensive price tag he's had all season. And he was 95 last game, and that was a huge jump from what he was before. So I think people are still going to have sticker shock. It's not that much more to get up to Tatum, and it's a lot easier to go down to Siakam and down to Evan Mobley, down to Porzingis. And so I really think that Scotty Barnes is going to go kind of get squeezed in the ownership here and might come closer to like the 13, 14, 15% range. And so I just really think he's a phenomenal tournament play. He's my favorite kind of somewhat contrarian tournament play today. At the forward position, Taylor, I'll throw it to you here first. Who do you like for tournaments to get a little sneaky?
Yeah, I think Siakam will be quite a bit more popular just because sub 8K, we talked about it. So I do like the Barnes call quite a bit. If you can find a way to get Barnes and Tatum and kind of stack that game and hope that Toronto can stay afloat, then I really like that. Especially if, people might be paying up for Trae Young. Obviously, we're paying up for Adebayo, so don't really think those guys will be chalky. And with Tatum, you do get leverage off of Jaylen Brown if you're fading him. So that's fine too. Jalen Johnson, again, power forward, pretty useful. Evan Mobley, I never really love in tournaments. It seems kind of like his ceiling's not really there with Allen back, but still doable. But if I'm shopping in that range, I think I would just go with Siakam.
Full disclosure, and I'm starting the day today. I'm upset at Fanduel and DraftKings for these two different start times. It's annoying. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I don't want to have to deal with that for the shows and things like that. And now that Markelle Fultz thing happened, I'm so grateful to Fanduel for having this later start time, because on DraftKings today, there were so many lineups I loved that I just needed like 4K for a forward spot. Just 4K. It didn't work with Highsmith. It didn't work for Hawk. I didn't know what to do. And Anthony Black is shooting guard and small forward eligible. It just would have been so perfect. I haven't looked at his stats. I don't know what he has. Maybe he's busting, but the price range just would have been so perfect for that. And so that is quite annoying. We're going to have some time for QQs, so get those likes way up, because on YouTube right now we're only at 18 likes, and I'm going to need that to get to at least 30 before I go to the YouTube chat for QQs. Before that, I'm going to be looking to the Discord RotoGrinders live stream chat. So make sure you get those likes way up so that we can take QQs from there as well.
So TJ, I actually just bet the Porzingis 3-point line, 3-point makes.
What was it?
1.5. 1.5.
I like that. Maybe let's see if I can get it in
I
here.
finally got sports. I finally got sports betting in Maine, so I can do that now.
Heck yeah, I'm gonna try and throw like 1.5. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm gonna try and get it in right here before lock. Taylor, I'll throw it to you. Guard position. We'll go point guard and shooting guard all at once, so we got some time for QQs. Who do you like to get a little bit different today in tournaments?
I mentioned Drew Smith in cash game discussion. I think he's obviously better suited for tournaments because he can completely flatline, and I think you're more okay with that in a GPP generally. He's just 38, and I think it opens up quite a bit elsewhere. DeJounte Murray, if Trae Young's going to be popular, always a decent leverage play, usually lower owned as well. Donovan Mitchell and Steph Curry, no one's playing on this slate. Donovan Mitchell's still had a ceiling even with Garland back, and 10K, I think it's going to scare his ownership way down. So no one's playing him. He doesn't project that great from a median standpoint, but obviously in a tournament, you're hoping for a ceiling, so that doesn't matter too much. And then Derek White, 65, is kind of just a last piece type of guy I would slot in. Curry, same argument. 93 on FanDuel is pretty good compared to Mitchell for 10K. Mitchell is the guy I would prefer if you have the money, but obviously always happy to slide down to Steph if I can.
I think the biggest thing in tournaments is that if you just simply don't play Kyle Lowry and or Duncan Robinson, you're going to be getting very different. One of my favorite things to do on a FanDuel tournament is you go Darius Garland and Steph Curry at these point guard positions. Get the little game stack. Both of them are probably underpriced. They're going to come in 25 to 20, maybe even a little bit lower than that. I could see Curry coming in lower than 24 for sure. And so I love that idea. And then the Trae Young, if you want to load up on Miami, run him back with Trae Young. I think that's the best possible thing you could do. Tim, who do you like for tournaments at the guard?
I love Trae Young. I mean, he's showing up as way lower owned than Murray right now. He's showing up at 11%, and Murray is at 31 because Young is $1,300 more. So Young is absolutely my favorite run back. If we're going to be playing for Heat, run it back with their best player. Like, you can do it. Like, that's what I'm doing in single entry. And if the ownership is going to be that much different between those two, I will take Young every single time. So he is definitely like my sneakier guard play for sure. And I also like Taylor's Donovan Mitchell call. I don't think anyone's going to play him, even though he's showing up at 18%. I think it's going to be lower than that.
I like it. All right. I just put 2 bets in for Kristaps Porzingis, one for him to hit over at least 2 and one for him to hit at least 3. We got it in right before the game started. I love it, Tim. Let's ride this one together and let's start taking some QQs. First off, going to the Discord chat, like I said, we did get the likes up on YouTube. Great work. So I can go there after Discord here. DK, GPP, Hawk, Robinson, or Highsmith for a single entry DK GPP. I'll throw that one to you, Tim.
Hawk, Highsmith, and who?
Robinson.
So I have to choose between
one.
One of those. Choose one. I guess it's still Robinson, even though he's going to be super high owned. But I still think like he's going to play so many minutes. I think so. I still think it's Robinson.
Yeah, exact same thought for me there. All right, what do we got here? QQ, Porzingis and Siakam, or Johnson and Barnes in a GPP, Taylor?
I think I'd go Johnson and Barnes. I think you've sold me on Barnes big time.
I like it. Scotty Barnes and Kristaps Porzingis 3s. That's what we're riding tonight, team. DK GPP, Tim, CP3 or Clay?
Yeah, I think I'd rather go Clay.
Taylor, who do you like for that one?
Yeah, I think the minutes are safer with Clay, with Paul playing off the bench. I don't love that.
What do we have for a Jarrett Allen minutes projection, and do we think he could get a little bit extra run today as he's starting to return from injury? Let's see.
We have him for 30.
And he went 20. Yeah, so I think we kind of already got him on the extended side of things.
Yeah.
So like he hasn't yet played 30 upon returning from injury. And so this, I think, is like a kind of aggressive median projection. So I wouldn't expect him to play much more than 30. I think 30, 31 would maybe be kind of as far up as he gets here, but never know. Maybe he's fully back to normal. Taylor, do you got anything else for the people before we get out of here? We got 2 minutes before lock, so everybody make sure to get your lineups in, but we have now run dry for QQs as well.
Just keep an eye out on the Heat starting lineup. Should be getting it momentarily. So if you have to swap after lock, that's always a nice edge that I think people underutilize.
Are you going to have we got NFL content coming tomorrow. Tim's going to be on Grinders Live nice and early, and then I'll be closing it down for crunch time. Are you still going to have an NBA core plays articles tomorrow?
Yeah. Core plays every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, as long as there are games.
All right, so make sure you stay tuned for that one if you're wanting to play some basketball content as well. Like I mentioned, Tim's going to be on Grinders Live in the morning with Dean, and who's the third on that show? Or no, Dean on that show?
It's actually going to be me, Bobby, and the Luch. Dean is out tomorrow, so it's going to be me, the Luch, and Bobby Gomes.
All right, the Luch is my guy. Might have to tune in a little extra early. Before we get out of here, we're 1 minute from lock. What do you think about Jamal Cain? Taylor, I'll throw that one to you. Like, we only had him projected for like 6 minutes.
Yeah, that's like Kevin Love, like only if he starts, but otherwise, no way.
Yeah, if he happens to start going to the starting lineup, maybe he gets over the 20, 25 minutes for GPPs there. Another QQ, Johnson and Trey, or Garland and Porzingis. Tim, I'll throw that one to you.
Yeah, I actually just hit that in chat. Johnson and Trey. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. And with that, we will just about be hitting lock. I'm kind of trying to like push things a little bit just to see if we can get a Heat lineup here. But still nothing for a Heat lineup. We have reached lock. So prioritize those starters. Like if Kane or Love happen to get in there, you can play him. If Love gets in, you can definitely play him, and I think he becomes a great play. But if Kane is, I think he becomes a viable salary saver too. One more QQ, and then we'll get out of here. Taylor, Jaylen Brown, or Evan Mobley?
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I like that one too. That's the side I would lean. And that'll do it for Crunch Time. We will be back for NFL tomorrow, and Taylor will be on for the Core Plays article. So make sure you check that one out in the morning. He will start Lowry, Robinson, Jock, Highsmith, and Adebayo. Exactly what we expected. Nothing fishy. So Kevin Love only in super large field GPPs if you're playing a lot of lineups, and I don't think you can get to Jamal Cain. And the predictions will just be accurate to what we were expecting because that was the starting lineup. So you can just tune into that. Nothing new, nothing fishy. So that'll do it for Crunch Time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Fanduel, our sponsor, on behalf of myself, TJ, Tim, Taylor, the 3 T's every Saturday. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week. Peace.